Hi, I'm McPherson, and in this video I explain how to apply my three-step process for stopping bad behaviour and dealing with difficult people to a real-life case study or example. So here we go. Now I will be speaking quickly because there's a lot to get through, and also I'll make some little gaps throughout the video so you can stop and discuss some of the issues if you need to. Here goes. Gary is a truck driver. He delivers material to sites. And he said most of the time things run really smoothly. But he said sometimes he gets to a site and things, surprise, surprise, don't go well. So he said last week, here's an example of what didn't go well. I got to a site and I looked at where I was supposed to be driving the vehicle, the truck, and Gary said it wasn't safe. The company he works for has very clear policies and procedures about not taking risks. And he said this road was a risk. He assessed it, decided he wouldn't be driving the truck down there. And he knew the company, his manager, would be backing him up if it ever came to that. So he said to the fellow at the site, I'm not going to drive the truck down there because it's a risk. Now the fellow at first thought it was a joke and just said, oh yeah, that'd be right, sort of thing. But when Gary said it a second time, said, no, I am serious. The fellow became a number of different types, if you like, of difficult people. He tried the pleading, oh come on mate, oh come on, don't hold us up. He tried the criticising approach of, oh yeah, that'd be right, that'd be just so typical of you. He said, Gary's thought he also made a sort of a racist comment about his ethnic background. He became abusive. He used sarcasm along the lines of, oh yes, you wouldn't want to drive your pretty truck down there, would you? He mocked him as well, and he even made a threat. So look, the fellow at the site went through about 9 or 10 types of difficult people. But the issue is this, my three-pronged or three-stepped approach is always start with the violation. What is it that actually was the problem? The problem was this, Gary said he wasn't going to go down there. Gary made a decision that it was risky, and the fellow at the site kept on pleading with him, kept on demanding, kept on saying, yes you will, yes you will, yes you will. That's the problem. The fellow kept on saying, yes you will do it, even though Gary had already told him he won't. The second step now is to apply or to tailor the strategies to meet that violation, and then it's about personalising Gary's approach. So let's look at these strategies. I'm going to do them in groups of strategies, not the whole lot of strategies one after another because it would just take too long. Here we go. The first group is all about playing it safe. Safety first. Look after yourself. So this was in the forefront of Gary's mind. There's a time when you have to perhaps leave the situation, and if you feel threatened you might have to go back to the cabin of the car or run off if necessary, whatever it happens to be. Lock yourself in the cabin of the car, of the truck, and call your manager. Police if necessary. So that's the first group of strategies, and Gary was well aware of that. He knew that his management and the company would support him. So a possible place to stop this video right now is to think about what policies and procedures do you have in place to make sure that workers are actually safe, or anyone is safe in the organisation, any employee. And we're back. The second group of strategies is what I call leave them to it. Now sometimes you can avoid difficult people, poorly behaved people. In Gary's place it was a bit difficult, Gary's situation a bit difficult because he actually had to go to these organisations, work sites. But one thing he can do in terms of leave them to it is not respond to every bit of behaviour. Gary said, oh I hate it when people get the upper hand. Well Gary, sometimes swallow your pride. It's okay for them to have the last word. Big deal, you've got bigger things on your plate. You can rise above it. You don't have to deal with, respond to, comment on every bit of bad behaviour from every person. You'd be there all day in some jobs, I think. So again, just think about that. Are you able to apply that leave them to it group of strategies to any of your situations? The next group is all about saying what you need to say and move on. Having a tough conversation, if you like. Just get over what you've got to do, what you've got to say, and leave it at that. Now, one of the strategies under that group is what I call the anatomical script. But that's long, it's an acronym. Every letter in anatomical means something. So let's just divide it into 3 bits. The first bit is you say hello, you acknowledge the issues, their problems, their efforts that they make, the difficulties, and you simply tell them what you can and can't do. The second thing you do is you give them some options, perhaps, of which they might like to choose one of. You tell them the information you've got to tell them, you give them the message. And the third thing is to leave it at that. Stop. There's no need to go on. So what option is it going to be, mate? What are you going to take? Or whatever? Just leave it. Give it to them straight. It's boring and dull, I know, but it's assertive and diplomatic and tactful. So let's see how Gary might have done that. Well, the first bit is, look, something along the lines of, mate, I understand that you've got to get things done. That's it. That's all you've got to acknowledge, nothing more than that. Tell them what you can and can't do. Look, so Gary might have said something along the lines of, look, what I can't do today is drive down that road, but what I can do today is deliver the material here without driving down the road. Tell them what you can and can't do. Now, the second part of this script is give them some options or just give them some straight down the line information. So options are good things to give to people. So he could have said, for example, say, look, there's two options. One is, as I said, I deliver the material here and I don't drive down the road. The other option is that if you don't wish me to do that, then I would have to return to base. So there's only those two options. Sometimes there's three options, but there's only those two. You give those options to the person, they have to choose. You can repeat the options if you have to. But after that, leave, finish it. There's no need to go on about, oh, I'm sorry it's come to this, or oh, geez, it's been a tough day, or geez, the company's tough, aren't they? Or something. Just don't say that. Just simply use the anatomical script. Simply say hello, tell them what you can and can't do, give them some options or give them the information you've got to give them, and leave it at that. Be quiet. Shut up, if you like. Now, another group of strategies is about changing the environment, changing the factors and influence that can affect poor behaviour. That might include, for example, making sure that policies and procedures are up to date, that the companies you work for, the work sites that you deliver material to, understand those policies and procedures. Sometimes people don't have the skills necessary to do their job properly, and that's why they get angry. They can't see these other ways of dealing with issues. That's why you need to give them options. Sometimes people don't have the skills to actually be polite. You might be surprised. I've met people who don't actually get it when you say, well, a please would be nice, a thank you would be nice, or can you see that when you raise your voice it's offensive? They don't get it. Another thing under that change the environment or change the factors and influences is sometimes you can actually charm people into lifting their game a little bit. Doing a little bit of what they want, if you like. It's not sucking up to them, please. Sorry about that colloquial terminology. But it is giving them a little bit of what they want, charming them sometimes, smiling, talking about them, talking about other things, giving them some acknowledgement, and being polite and nice, maybe nicer than normal. But I really think that anatomical script is the way that Gary needed to go. Tell them what he wasn't going to do and could do. Second thing is giving them those options. The third thing is leaving. And if he got that down straight, I think it'd be great. The other groups of strategies are all about laying it on the line. And that's about saying to people that their behaviour is unacceptable and you want them to change. Now, in this case, I don't think that was an appropriate thing for Gary to use. I don't think he needed to go down and use those strategies. I think the group of strategies where it's just tell them what you had to tell them and leave it at that. So that's the first thing, is nailing the violation, tailoring those strategies, and I have a list of strategies for you and you can get those off me. That's quite simple. And the third thing is to personalise the approach. Now, everyone has a different way of doing things. Gary's way of delivering these strategies is different to mine. He has different goals. He has different policies and procedures to abide by. He has different amounts of time. Look, if he's got all day, he can stand there and talk to the worksite manager about the issue. But if he hasn't, he's got to make a decision and move on. And he also needs to personalise how he speaks. Everyone has a different way of speaking. So I've had people like Gary say to me, oh mate, I just don't speak like that. Well, that's okay. Let's put it in your language and see how it goes. And after doing those three steps, the idea then is that we need to practice that and get it right so that Gary's pretty slick with his verbal code, his vocal code, and his visual, non-verbal messages, hand signals, facial expressions, whatever. I think that's long. I think we'll leave it there. I hope you've got something out of that. Please, if you want to contact me, it's easy. Go to the website, the contact page of my website. Plenty of ways of getting in contact with me there. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, look after yourselves, look after your friends and family, and I hope to chat to you soon. All the very best.